It's so good.
Speed, you want to meet me at Riverview tomorrow after work? Check out Baywatch.
Nah, you got that. That's all you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm good. Yo, I don't know. I have like negative 80% interest in that movie.
I'm surprised it's getting as trash as it is. I really thought.
Wait, really?
Honestly, because I thought it was gonna be stupid funny enough, like the way Jump Street was. Jump Street's fucking hilarious, and I thought they were gonna do something.
Yo, Jump Street's actually funny though. Is the problem?
And that's what was. But the people involved in this, especially The Rock, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, like Zac Efron's usually pretty good. Like the Neighbors movies are pretty funny. Like he's not a bad actor in comedy roles. So I thought they were gonna be able to pull off not as good, but like sort of okay. Yeah. I didn't expect it to be like 18% or whatever it's at right now.
Damn, is it that?
Yeah, it's getting fucking stomped on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo, wow.
Yeah, it just sounds like just bad overall.
Oh man.
I'll be watching over you.
Hey. Try not to get yourselves killed out there. You didn't make the cut. You chicken.
This is my kind of city. Lights, camera, action!
Attack commences in 30 seconds.
A moment to enjoy some peace and quiet. Probably just a moment, though.
Good.
There's no fire.
Fire strike. Oh, right, it's not fire strike.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack commencing. Capture objective.
Yes, Metronos is at the front door.
Enemy contact.
I'm under attack! Ich kümmere mich um dich.
Weapon systems overloaded!
Great team.
Behind you!
I'm taking care. Damage increase.
Whoa!
Damn.
Terrence. Yeah, Terrence still on the left from there. Sure.
Let's get you back out there.
Damn, holy crap. You gotta get help.
Yeah. Fucking, are you serious? I thought I got them. Fuck.
My ultimate is charging.
Oh shit. I have res, but I'm not gonna res you back into that.
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine.
Increase.
Shit, shit.
Heroes never die.
Oh, damn, it's an extra.
Oh!
I'm like, fight the entire universe.
Tactical visor activated.
Securing it.
Get that?
Get ready for a shock.
Ash.
Cease your resistance.
Check me out. During the point.
Why am I stuck on the ground?
I am becoming one. The objective. That shield generator.
You got
Don't put it down. Yeah, don't put it down.
The objective. Get over here.
Nice.
Objective A captured. Escort.
Put it down or it's like going down.
Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, just put it down.
You should be at peak performance levels.
I read you.
Where does it end?
I got more extra Jason. Oh, I see this. Oh, man, I'm trapped.
How you doing?
Yes.
My
Need
ultimate
a doctor?
is ready. Proceed.
I believe they have a teleporter. You should be at peak performance levels. Where does it end?
Yo, for some reason, this Zenyatta wants to like be up front.
I could use some assistance.
Ah, Reaper on me.
Actually, he's going.
All right, thank you.
I'm chasing him.
Thank you. Good stuff. So much behind me. Oh, thank you.
Enemy teleporter located.
Sleepers on it? Sleepers on it? Sleep teleporter on it?
Yes, the nose.
I'm on fire.
I'm taking care the wonders of modern
Like, they
medicine.
still
The
teleport.
payload and I move as one.
Half back, baby.
I've got you. Let me get you patched up.
My ultimate is charging.
Thanks.
Try to go top.
My ultimate is
Work
ready.
together. Move the payload.
You needed a doctor? Damage boost engaged.
Tactical visor activated.
Someone up behind you?
Tracer behind you. Becky.
Yeah, I know. Oh, stop fucking away from me.
I'm taking care of you. Damage boost engaged.
I didn't tag you guys with it.
Did someone call a doctor? You should be at peak performance levels. I'm taking care of you.
Get over here.
I will You needed a doctor?
Jesus.
Okay.
Damage increase.
Someone locate that shield generator.
Ah, damn it.
Shit. I'm like, really? That is insane.
Yo, we're right there. Oh my.
I must go where I'm needed.
Very easy.
Oh, yeah, she did. That's what I was saying before too. She was like on top of the car.
I'll wait for you guys.
Join me.
My ultimate is almost ready.
Powered up. Someone locate that shield generator.
Yeah,
You
so
needed a doctor? You should be at peak performance levels.
Come on.
Nice kill, Decky.
Healing stream engaged.
Roadhog's on the left.
Oh my god. Oh shit. No! Are you kidding me?
Res you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Heroes never die. I'm taking it.
Ah, damn it.
Tactical visor.
I must go where I'm needed.
All right, cool.
Complete. Score 3-0. Switching sides. Prepare your defenses. Select your hero.
Oh, you're gonna be that guy. What a douche.
Okay.
He's stealing the dude's Roadhog.
I was Roadhog the entire game.
Yeah, he was Roadhog.
Yeah.
Damn, ultimate disrespect.
No, I straight up like at the very beginning. Havoc and Ms. Monster were. Oh, thanks. I didn't realize they switched off.
No one switched up anything. Hey, he then Roadhog.
Oh wait. It was the last game, right? Where the guy was Roadhog. Yeah, it was on a.
When I was Lucio?
Yeah. That's right. I'm about to fall asleep.
I'll be watching over you.
Yeah, it's good. Good, Symmetra better be on point with our one tank.
Dude, Symmetra up close, like, she melts.
She does.
Like, I don't even have a chance. So that,
We do have 2 tanks. I never considered D.Va a tank. I don't know why. I really don't. I mean, she is.
Out there.
Would you say, Deb?
I think you guys get the mind in this game right
Did someone call it out? Damage amplified.
is up there. Tell me that's Symmetra. Yes, she's trying to do something.
Well, yeah. That's all right. That's cool.
You're all right.
Yeah.
3, 2,
Yep.
1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
You needed a drop stop? Damage
All right, now
increased.
Zenyatta's too close again.
Barrier is almost clear. I could use some assistance. Where does it hurt?
Watch left. Oh shit, he's on me.
Winston. That's gonna be a problem.
Yep.
That's gonna be a problem for this comp.
They're all coming
Ah, man. Yeah, he's gonna melt us alive.
Oh, Jesus! You guys did it. Everybody else.
Die Wunder der modernen Medizin.
Mercy down.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's in.
Oh, yeah, you guys are up. Yeah, nice.
Let's get you back out there. Get them off me. Didn't die.
Bears down. Ryan's way in the back.
I'm taking care.
Oh, should I? No! Oh!
My ultimate ability is ready. Tactical visor ready for deployment.
My ultimate is almost ready. You should be at peak performance levels.
Oh shit, Jeff, you're playing Roadhog? Winston top again. Oh. Thank you guys.
I'm here.
He's trying to run the back. It's like,
Where
they all
does
are.
it hurt? Shout, dash down.
Oh!
Experience.
Oh my god, there's a horse.
Nice, Jeff.
Tactical visor out.
Oh shit.
Helden sterben nicht. Let's get you back out.
Jesus.
Nice hold, guys. Nice hold. Damn. Yeah, where you at?
Patching you up. 60 seconds. I will shield.
Yeah, I'm good.
My ultimate
Oh shit! Oh fuck! Behind you.
30 seconds.
Man, you guys are lighting it up. Jeez.
Damage amplified. Activating 10 seconds remaining. You've got this. Justice reigns up.
Good game.
Silence.
Damn, that was awesome.
I like to do it, man. I like to play one game where we like destroy them and one game where we lose by percentage.
Now, I have it quite to do that.
Yeah, really.
Play of the match.
Ooh.
Wow, she's putting him right on the outside of that.
Heroes never die. Justice.
I
I love how Mercy like gets kill participation even though she doesn't fire a shot. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, you gotta fire their shots, man.
Chrissy says good night, guys.
Oh, good night.
Good night.
Remember Doug's advice? You gotta know how to use your pistol at the right times.
Because the body where you got to it more than about a billion. Wanna feel ya and get familiar. Eh. The body where you got to it more than about a trillion. I just wanna feel ya, yo, yo. Wanna steal ya, girl.
You guys done?
Yeah, after one.
Yeah, I got one more.
I'm basically gonna say I have one more until we lose and then I'm done.
Pete, you're working late Saturday, right?
Yes, I am. Wait, why would you got going on?
I don't really know yet. I think we're gonna go out to whatever McShay's or one of the local places, and I think Ant might bring his laptop over here. For
Nice. I mean, you guys, like, how late is late for you guys?
Past, I don't know, 2 a.m. whenever you would get here.
You'd be up that late?
No, I'm saying not.
Okay.
Yeah, no chance.
Your heart weighs a ton, girl, watch me heavy live. How many more times we gon' argue over petty shit? I mess up, but she... This game is nothing, I'm new to.
Now entering
King's Row.
King's Row.
King's
Prepare
Row.
to attack. Select your hero.
Oh shit, we're getting that patented Road Dog Anna. Or I'm sorry.
Yeah,
there we go.
Like to see his ghost play that patented Reinhardt, but hey, what are you gonna do?
I'll be watching over you.
Actually, I don't know if I even do. I want him to switch, but I want everyone else to switch too.
Just fine.
Because Reiner's not gonna have anybody to block. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
We got too many randos, except for like maybe Jeff. Farrah's gonna be out there. Genji's gonna be doing Genji bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah, so you got cut off earlier because your game dropped out. What is your like downtime at this training thing, or do you not really have?
I get like 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yo, it's like like not for nothing. It's like probably the most intense training I've had.
Really?
It's like super technical. Yeah, it's really good though.
Dude, what time is it actually 8 to 4?
It's 8:30 to 4:30.
Do you want to grab like a quick happy hour afterwards?
Yeah,
That's
sure.
That's pretty much exactly what I'm getting out. So.
Yeah. Yo, I'm down. Yo, tomorrow's payday too. Hell yeah.
Attack.
All right, so drinks on you. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, I can't really say on stream. I'll tell you guys afterwards.
You probably shouldn't say that on stream either.
Yo, it's highly sensitive information.
Fair, we're supposed to. Oh, I missed that there.
How did he get that so quickly?
Objective. Anyone want to be a peak performance levels?
I probably. It's probably here on the back.
Very well.
I'm claiming this objective.
Dark Knight's in the mix.
The upstairs is mine. Be quick about it.
Nice.
Securing the objective.
Start
Anyone want to join me?
Captured. Escort the payload.
Protect the payload. I'm taking care of my position.
I understand.
Healing stream engaged.
I assume I'm gonna use it on you.
Damage increase. Get them off me. Let's get you back out there. You should be
You better get out of the way.
Oh, what a sleep!
Oh, nice.
Oh, Pharaoh Crop, why?
Oh man,
Yo,
I could not
Pharaoh,
move.
you got me killed. Shit, why?
Nerf this.
Yo, she got
I must go where I'm needed.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
But y'all get there faster than you.
What's that?
But you'll get there faster than you.
Yeah, you probably will.
Cutting corners, cutting corners. Ah, there we go. It's a race. It's a race.
Tokyo Drift.
Oh! Edge out. Ah! Yeah, I got it.
Yo, I hope you're happy you just stole
My ultimate is charging.
Yep.
So much damage.
Oh, motherfucker!
Now.
Heroes never die. You should be at peak performance levels.
The payload is approaching its destination.
Healing stream
Oh, really?
I could use some assistance.
Oh, shit, we're playing against the guy playing against Yeah.
Don't get a you think, boy.
Let's get you back out there.
Nice, guy.
Nice.
Round 1 complete.
Man, I was running this like the same fucking problem. I tried at least 3 times to. I was trying more to grenade them than I was trying to grenade you guys, but like just somebody steps in the way and just eats it. That sucks.
Prepare your defenses.
Yo, and it's so
Select
fun,
your
man.
hero.
guy's definitely playing in a fedora and like a trench coat right now.
Who, his Kruger.
Defense Alliance. Oh, you heard me? No. I'm sorry. Just kidding. I'm sorry.
All right, 25-40. Racist statement number 75 from Becky.
How am I racist? I'm prejudiced against anime kids.
Stick to the flag, and if you get into trouble, I'll bail you out.
Who's even watching your stream besides Christy?
I think Mike is actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Hey.
Damage boost engaged.
Damage output increased.
Hello. Healing stream engaged.
Just
Shadow
delivered.
washed up.
I'm feeling young again.
Where is it up here? Just go top, probably?
Yeah, that probably would have been good.
Attackers
Next don't make it, next don't make it.
Support has arrived.
Don't die for like 10 seconds. I'm gonna hurt.
Alright, no problem.
Shit.
They're all over me. You should be a protect the objective. Let's get you back out there.
Walk it off.
Damage increased.
Alright, armor fire's down there.
Nice.
Get them off me.
Ooh, somebody body blocking. Okay, cool.
I'm with you. Activated. Shadow, flash
Up
down.
there. Oh shit, I'm getting tagged. Yeah, I heard it.
Healing stream engaged.
Contact. Should have that.
No.
Get down.
You should be at peak performance levels.
Third beat.
Yeah, jump right.
Oh shit. I got it. Ooh, nice.
Good stuff, guys.
Right beside you.
Good arm and a half on the right.
Bears, one shot again.
I'm gonna have to go with it.
Mercy's.
Let me get you patched up. Heroes never die. Damage increased. I've got you. Let's get you back out there.
I need healing.
Clearing the area.
Thanks.
I'm taking care of you. Where does it hurt?
There's this.
That's a good placement, actually.
Well, he was the witness.
Nice.
Nice. Vera.
Let me get you patched up.
Target.
Yep.
Holy fuck, I Winston.
Yeah, I was gonna try to heal him, but fuck that.
Where does it
Dude, he's like getting out of the way.
Winston, come back.
damage end?
60 seconds remaining.
Let's get you back out there.
I need healing.
Get them off me. Need a doctor?
Ah, shit.
She fucked up.
Yeah, that's too close.
No!
30 seconds remaining.
The wonders of modern medicine.
Nearly over. Keep up our defense.
Thank you.
My
Good job.
thanks. Thank you.
Acknowledged.
Let's get to that ultimate.
Being enough.
10 seconds.
Don't get up. It's almost over. Don't let up on the...
Nice.
Too easy.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, I like Anna Mercy Roadhog for us. Yeah.
3-0.
I just like to not have to worry about the pressure of being fucking soldier for a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you.
Victory.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a quick play or something so I can play Tracer.
Play of the match.
Damn.
Oh, I think it's that more right rescue.
Oh! That goes to the Pope.
Yeah, you get that.
We can even piss up.
Yeah. Yes. Alright. Back above gold, technically.
Nice.
Just barely.
Nice.
Only 312 to go until I'm caught up to the season high.
Back in the 1800s at least.
Nice.
Do a quick play? I might have that like that.
We're on such a good streak though.
Definitely.
Come on.
I'm down for whatever. If we want to do quick play, that's cool with me.
I think we should do one more competitive. Now that we got this, we got to sort it out. Our super awesome Anna Roadhog comp.
You know, this next game's gonna be like super toxic people. We're gonna get crushed.
No.
No,
No, that's no. You got it. You're going into it with a bad attitude. This is the problem, man. This is the problem already.
I mean, yo, the fact that we haven't run into super toxic people so far is like kind of like crazy. So the odds are we probably are going to get literally
listen,
shit on.
We're not running into toxic.
Like someone's going to FedEx shit to our houses.
Listen, this is why I like to run 3 or more, because the odds of having to deal with people like that are they're mitigated a bit.
Traveling
I don't
to
know,
Nepal.
man. Yo, plus this isn't our this isn't our map at all. We almost never win this map.
Totally my map.
Select your hero.
Yeah, because you pick Tracer here and we lose.
Oh, you fucking kidding me? Really? Is it necessary? Is that necessary? Well, I didn't. I wanted to. Nah, I'll probably go to Soldier actually. Wait.
Nah, I think Tracer's actually good here.
Sanctum's the indoor one.
This is the outdoor one.
Yeah, that's like the little house thing that I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's it going?
Oh, that's why no one's toxic, because no one's in
I'll
with that.
be watching over you.
See, I told you. I guess I feel like we have the conversation every single time. No, not that. I say this is the indoor one, right? You guys no, but there's the thing in the middle.
Yeah, see, it's outdoor, and there's a thing in the big house in the middle.
Okay, I like our gold weapon placement here.
4, 3.
And he switches to Diva. Nah, Diva's better here, probably, anyway.
Yeah,
Capture.
I might actually save Soldier. Let's see.
I'm with you.
Alright, just gotta wake up for one more game, that's it.
Damage boost engaged.
All done right.
Yep.
Ooh. Got football.
Oh, got a tree right here.
Ah, man, I got killer tag teamed.
Shit.
Check me out. Here's the point.
Damn, I should have had that Lucio. That sucked. Alright, we're shooting before this. Got me, Pete?
Yep.
But do you teleport? Alright, you're good.
I'm here.
Almost there. Did you run?
happens to the best of us.
You should be at peak performance levels.
Feel like a man.
Nice. Good job, guys. Just keep getting things like that.
Fuck yep.
Damage is engaged.
Oh shit, yeah, he's on me still.
You needed a doctor?
Bad
Let me get you patched up. You're ready to do some damage.
Ah, shit, yeah, they do. First. Fuck, Farrah's right next to me. Goddamn.
Enemies on the point.
I'm taking care.
Farrah's down. Creek, come here.
I'm on fire.
No problem.
Back.
Let me get you patched up. Schaden verstärkt.
Nah, I don't think so. Oh, random heads. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, pull back, guys.
Sorry, I had to abandon you.
Oh, he survived it.
Heroes never die. Let me get you.
Go fuck, please. Ah!
Overtime.
You needed a doctor?
Last round.
Wow! And we live to fight another day.
Score 1-0.
Game on.
Eva, tell me one thing. Where'd you learn to shoot like
16-bit
that?
hero. Let's get to it already.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round 2. Capture the objective.
Yeah, I might switch up the recruiter's work.
Feel like a man possessed.
Shit, now I'm gonna go. Okay. That was alright, I know, I'm sure.
Under attack.
Ah, soldier got me.
Starting over from the beginning.
Fuck. Fuck, so like a second.
You needed a doctor?
Regroup. Down.
Home ready. I'll show them.
Healing stream engaged.
Is he down left or?
Yeah, no,
Heilstrahl aktiviert.
Now that's teamwork.
Push up slowly.
I will walk him behind you to the left. Nice.
I'm taking care of you.
drop my ultimate switch.
This objective has my name.
Oh shit, I must be still there. Fuck.
Damage increased. You need a doctor? Well done. Damage amplified. Let me get you patched up. I'm here. Yes. Damage boost.
It's fucked up. Mercy in that room to your right. Nah, I'm falling.
Careful, guys. Oh, watch it up.
Now they're going right.
No! Back off, back off.
Oh shit. I lost you.
All over me.
Worth it. Nice, good. That's hold.
Oh shit!
Mercy in the righteous. You should be at peak performance level. Cover me.
I'm in serious trouble.
Whole bunch of them are going right. Careful.
Let's get you back out.
Roadhog and Mercy going right.
Alright, they got a Zarya now.
Oh shit!
I'll res you. You're up.
Heroes never die.
Knock right there. Here's up.
Ow! Fuck!
I've got you in my sights.
Both of you are down.
A speedy recovery.
I'm on fire!
Roadhog behind you, he's almost dead.
Yep.
Accelerate.
Ah, trap. Shit.
Zarya's there too. Careful.
You're ready to do some damage. I'm taking care. Get them off me. I've got it. Огонь по готовности.
Oh shit. Ah, damn it.
Highways burn. 2 at least.
Alright, we just gotta regroup.
A clean bill of health.
I'm back in the fight.
Damage increased.
My ultimate is almost ready.
My ultimate is ready. Go. I'll be watching over you.
Here they come.
Healing stream engaged.
Sequence.
Drop the beat.
Oh, waste that. Well, save me.
I'm taking care of you.
Behind you.
Down. I'll get the roll, thank you. Holy shit.
In range of the objective.
Oh, let's break it.
Good. Just finish him.
Okay, we got one more round.
Rocket
I'll be right up.
barrage in round 2.
Nice stuff, guys.
Nice, very good.
Score 2-0.
I'm back in
Not
the
my best
fight.
bombs.
Yeah, time to heal up.
System check initiated. Green
I should start trying to be like more
I'm
precise.
ready
Just
for action.
get a free most kill on Roadhog. Hope to take somebody else with him.
Let's shoot for a new high score.
Pete, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry about that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round 3. Capture the objective.
I hate this.
Think I could have a
Damage
look at one of
was
those
engaged.
bombs of yours?
This I don't like this
Over
like
my
top
dead
tactical.
body.
Works perfectly though. High ground.
I like the high ground. Oh, okay.
Now, you needed a doctor. You should be at peak performance level.
Oh, nice try, asshole. Left side.
I'm on the objective.
Is now
Coming?
Damage increased. I'm taking the point. I'm taking care of you.
No, you, he got moved off and you went back in.
Damage amplified.
See?
Yo, was that a burn or a combo?
No, that was ESQ healing.
Where does
That was a burn. Okay, got it.
It's been down.
I got it.
Damage boost engaged.
I don't know who's on about me or the other guy.
Just talking about you.
Oh, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. Jesus, get that fucking Zarya. Thank God.
Healing stream engaged.
I got Zen now? That's
Jack's coming up behind you guys.
shit, get out.
Yo. I'm coming.
Okay, it's on right.
Get them off me.
Restart. Hero.
Performance level.
I got my easy.
You got this.
Nice.
I'm being attacked.
They gonna mate now?
Yeah. Two guys, right?
Ah, shit.
Heroes never die.
Fuck. Wow, was fast that bad. Nice.
Ich kümmere mich dich.
Nice.
Damage increased. Healing stream engaged.
Oh.
Nice.
Man.
Kills back at the end too.
Good games, everybody.
Good games.
Savage job.
Good game, folks.
Holy crap.
Play of the match.
That's right, damn right. Read the fucking manual.
Reload then roll. I like it.
Ooh.
That guy was not very good. See?
You got that tracer.
So close.
Alright guys, I'm out.
Yeah, good games.
Yo, good games. That was fun. That was fun.
Let's see what I got as far as.
Screw you, Ducky.
You wanna do one more? One more?
Nah, I gotta run. Yeah. Pete, hit the fucking right mouse button. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. You know, Mercy has two buttons, right? You know she has two buttons, right? You know she has two buttons. You know she has two buttons, right? You know she has two buttons, right?
You're not wrong, man. Listen, I teach with an iron fist. Tough love. Ah, shit. I'll be right back.
Yo, if only you could play Marvel with an iron fist. Oh, he
You
missed
around
it.
on Mario Pete?
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, cool.
Yo, take it easy, man. Good games.
Alright, see ya.
That was
Yeah,
fun.
good games.